We're now the closing bell market zone, CNBC.
Yo, yo, yo. Hello, everybody. Let's get started over here. So today was a pretty interesting day. It started off a little better, and then it got a little worse. We had chips doing really well today, but since they have retracted, as you can see here, it was a lot greener earlier. Tesla down 0.3%. Health services not doing great. Retail trade not doing great. Transport not doing great. I really don't know why retail trade isn't doing great. It should be. Let me just get up to the top here. Also, it looks like the Russell is underperforming slightly from the indices, but all in all, the indices are pretty flat to down on the day. We'll just pull it up over here. So really completely flat on the S&P, but I still think we're set up for bullish momentum. If we look at the Nasdaq, only up 0.13%, and if we look at the Russell, and again, we've got 4 minutes, so a little bit of time to close, down 0.3%. But since it led yesterday, I think this is actually pretty normal. If we look at the watch list over here, let's just sort it. Take a look at different indices. And again, the market isn't quite closed. It closes in 4 minutes. But nonetheless, we can see Micron did okay. Injective, a second tier 2 Ethereum solution. Biddy, if you're shorting Bitcoin, was in that lead. Nvidia only up 1.10%, right? At close and drop, and it looks a little bit. Riot up 1%, Uranium up 1%, Argentina up 1%, Flux up almost 1%. Gold hit a new record all-time high. Nvidia did briefly, and again, just nothing really performing very well today. Dollar up a little bit. I think it's starting to hit its peak. If we look over at it, we can see where, again, we're at that key level of resistance. Could pop above it maybe just for a wick, but really I think this will act as downward pressure, and I think this will give the markets more time to perform. And again, with oil, I had something, I'll probably talk about it later, but I have a theory that oil's going to keep dropping. Right now, today, up almost 0.17%. But again, the strong wick, I think we're going to roll over. I think we go into the 60s, and I'll tell you why in the geopolitical section of this a little bit later. for the people that care. MOVE Index, the Bond Volatility Index. Today was a weird day with economic data, so we'll go over some of that in a second. But yeah, so the bond index ended pretty flat, I think, on the day. The 2-year, did it go up or down? It actually did go up, but it retraced a little bit, up 0.81%. The 10-year, too, I know was really spiking today, getting closer to its all-time highs as far as yield rate. But again, I do think some of those things are going to calm down. We'll talk about in the U.S. economic section of this conversation. I think, yeah, let's see. Let me see right over here. We'll be talking about some thoughts about where we're going to land on rates and how that's all going to look. So we'll cover that in a little bit. Let's just jump into it real quick. So fear and greed. We have the stock market at 71. So we gained a little bit in regard to greed levels. I think we were at 69 earlier in the day. And on the fear and greed on crypto, we're still sitting at 71. I don't even know if that updates, but once a day though. And we're going to be going into, again, some more economic data in just a second here. I actually have a video I want to show you first about, it's a take on how the economy is doing. And I agree with a lot of it. And so I wanted to go over that. But in regard to bonds, we did have economic data that showed some strength in retail. But there's some underlying stuff people have questions about. I'm going to do deeper research overnight and into tomorrow morning to see if I can kind of develop my thesis on whether things are really still pretty bullish in regard to the economic data that came out today, or if there's any bearishness to be found in it. So far, I think it's more bullish than not, and we can go over that in a second. But if you look at the bond market, you could see that our chance of more rate cuts, I think it was bullish enough to where people are like, you know what, I don't think we're going to be doing a lot of rate cuts in the future. So they're lowering expectations for it. Maybe that's why we had a little bit of a retrace today too. Again, this was in the 90s yesterday. It's only 88.3 now. In December, it drops to 72%. In January, it's 52.3. That ticked up a little bit from where it was earlier. And in March, the chance of getting that another rate cut, just one every session all the way up until March, for a total of 100 basis points, is only 48%. So the odds start to drop quite a bit. So again, stabilizing a little bit. Yeah, there was some interesting stuff today with chips. TSMC, we'll talk about that in a second too. A key driver in markets. They blew away earnings. They were up like 36% year over year. And that led to a lot of other companies that were excited too. We'll look at that in a second. But before we do that, let's go back over here. I do want to listen to this guy's thesis on what he thinks is happening with markets. So we'll go ahead and play this out. Michael Quinn also says, Jesse, you've made me a ton of money in a short period of time, but can you teach the process, the research, the process you go through? Would love to learn how to fish instead of being handed fish. Yeah, so I do have an Options 101 video that you can watch. I do need to make more videos that kind of talk through my thought process. Whoa, Benedict Herwig, 50 memberships. Thank you very much, man. So I do have a lot of, I have like an origin story I probably need to write up, and I have some other theses, like how I develop my thesis, how I do research. You can see some of it. If you watch the market open and market recaps, you'll get a lot of my mentality and how I do things. But definitely check those out. I think it'll help. And again, Benedict, thank you very much. Everybody who's donated memberships and just everything. It's really appreciated. There are some days where it's easier to do all of this, and there's some days where it's harder. Days where, you're kind of flat to down and you're just waiting for things to happen. It's probably harder. So it's really nice to get encouragement. I appreciate you, sir, especially on days like today. All right, let's watch this video. 1 second.
All-time highs earlier today. Dow on track for another record close. That will mark its 39th this year. Here to share how he's positioning at highs is Miller Value Partners, Bill Miller IV. It's good to see you again. Welcome back.
It's awesome to be here.
Not the first, second, or third, the fourth. This guy has money.
Thanks, Scott.
Let's just start there. How are you positioning as we continue to hit new highs?
Well, we're incredibly optimistic. If you look at the environment, things are fantastic.
Thanks, Michael.
Market's hitting all-time high. Bonds just had their second best quarter in 29 years.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Bill Miller IV? Did you say bonds just had their second best quarter in 29 years? I just want to go back. That's an interesting statistic, I think.
Well, we're incredibly optimistic. If you look at the environment, things are fantastic. Market's hitting all-time high. Bonds just had their second best quarter in 29 years. Generally speaking, bonds...
That seems good.
Don't have phenomenal quarters if inflation's out of control. So inflation's under control. You're seeing central banks around the world pivot to an easing stance. The curve just uninverted. There's phenomenal values all over the place. So we're super optimistic from a value investor's perspective about the opportunities.
Because he thinks we don't have to worry about inflation, the economy is still strong, and we just had the second best bond market in 29 years. Decent amount of time. That would make me a teenager. Wow, weird. But yeah, so yeah, I have to agree. I'm in the same stance. This is the camp I'm in. Let's keep going.
Are we overstating it to suggest that an everything rally is underway? I mean, even on the market cap spectrum, finally, that we can seriously talk about small caps making their move?
Yeah, well, they've just started a move, I think, Scott. So we believe there's a long way to go when you look at the relative valuations and you look at what's going on.
We will be talking about valuations again a little bit in a little bit here, probably about 20 minutes.
On in the economy and some of the momentum behind some of these smaller cap names with incredibly low expectations. And when you look at the concentration in some of the larger growth names in the market and the embedded expectations for those, we think the relative values are much better from an active manager's perspective in smaller names.
Yeah, I mean, how are you thinking about the larger ones, though?
It depends on the name. So we can invest in any name. We don't have specific limits with regard to position sizes. We don't own any of the Magnificent Seven, to be honest, just because we believe the values are so much better in other things. Before I came on here, you mentioned a name that was down 10% today. I wanted to flag it because it's our largest name in our ETF. It's a company called Centene. CNC is the ticker. It's about a $33 billion market cap. These guys are the healthcare administrator, the largest administrator, as a matter of fact, for dual eligible Medicare and Medicaid enrollees. And so Elevance came out today and said there were some challenges in the Medicaid business. Centene got absolutely whacked, and we liked it at 68. We love it at 62. Trades at 9 times earnings. We think the risk-reward skew here is incredible. We think intrinsic value,
I don't know about this play, but
is closer to triple digits than $62 a share. They're going to kick off about $4.5 billion of free cash flow this year. That's their sustainable rate and growing. On a
kind of bored on the rest here. But I did want to show something else real quick. I wanted to show Bitcoin. So again, getting that kind of perfect rejection off of this spot, I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I said this before. I took out the line, but really we could consolidate here and bounce from here. We could go down a little bit. We could grind in this zone for the next week or two, maybe 3 weeks even. I mean, again, this can bring us into November. This is November right here, guys. This is after the election. Is it crazy for this thing to maybe drop and grind around here and consolidate before breaking out after the election? I think that can happen. It can happen before. I think it can happen after. I think you'll have a lot more certainty after. So I think that would be the area where you could really feel good about the move. No matter who gets elected or whatever else, again, after the election results are done, if they're done right away, hopefully, then we should see some powerful action that you can kind of count on. It could be knee-jerk in one direction or the other over a very short period of time, but man, when it starts to move, it will move and it will be up. So I think, again, if this is even 2.5 weeks, I don't care. I don't care at all. I'm very excited about it. All right, other stuff to look at. Let's keep going here. So again, bonds look like, I should say this, it looks like our rate cuts are going to be lessened a little bit, which is wonderful. And then at the same time, the bond market, I think, will end up stabilizing. Let me just get some stuff in order here. All right, so real quickly, again, just to kind of roll through what we saw earlier. Initial jobless claims, good, lower than consensus and forecast. Philly Fed manufacturing, good. Actually we got a 10.3. We were expecting a forecast of 4 and a consensus of 3. We like to see manufacturing actually picking up. Retail sales ex autos, better than expected. We had a forecast of 0.3 and consensus of 0.1. We got 0.5. Beautiful stuff when you take out autos. Autos, man, that's the sector that's hurting. But when you take it out, things aren't looking too bad in retail sales. Continued jobless claims came right within line, a little bit lower than expected. Jobless claims 4-week average, just a hair bit higher than normal. I said this earlier, but it probably indicates that maybe people are having a harder time getting jobs once they are unemployed, but we're not seeing a really strong tick up, and it's really inconsequential at this point. Philly Fed business conditions were better than expected, more than double the previous number. We got 15.8 before, it was 36.7 now. If you look in, what is the historical average? 34.44. So 36.7 is a bigger number than that, which means it's good. So we like that. CapEx, this is capital expenditures. This is when you're spending basically, to rejuvenate equipment, to expand the business, all that kind of stuff, right? For maybe research and development, you've got CapEx. And CapEx actually, previously was at 25. This time it was at 23.5. If we go back a few years, though, we can see that these are really great levels, really levels that we haven't seen much of since March of 2022, which is 2.5 years ago. So all of that was good, too. Employment sector was down a little bit compared to the previous. I made the argument that's probably not a bad thing, because you don't want too much wage inflation. You don't want employees having too much power over wages. Otherwise, again, you can have inflation that you don't want. So I think we're in balance there. Philly Fed new orders was 14.2. It was previously 1.5. So when we look over here, those were good numbers too. And let's just keep going down. Prices paid, $29.70. That actually dropped a little bit. I said that's a good thing. We'd rather go down. Now, normal is 28.91 from 1968 until 2024 if you average it out. So it's a little hot, but it's getting better. All this data today was really pretty good. Again, retail sales ex autos, it was 0.7%. The forecast was 0.1. That's way better than expected. Retail sales year over year was 1.7. It was forecast at 1.6. That's better than expected. Industrial production month over month, that was negative 0.3, whereas they expected 0.1 and the consensus was negative 0.2. So it was weaker. So industrial was weaker. Capacity utilization was just slightly below expectations, but not a big deal. Industrial production year over year was negative 0.6. Forecast was 0.4. So again, industrial not good, but everything else good. Manufacturing production year over year, negative 0.5%, forecast at 5. So again, on this metric of the manufacturing data down here, not the Philly Fed, but the other just straight up manufacturing data, it conflicted a little bit with that. So we'll just call manufacturing a wash, industrial bad, Philly Fed data beautiful, retail sales beautiful, jobless claims and not bad at all. Right? So all this stuff looked pretty good. Business inventories month over month, 0.3%, pretty much in line. Nothing crazy there. They probably have a little excess inventory, especially on the East Coast where they were trying to prep before the hurricane. But really nothing bad. Now, what we didn't cover yet, so we did have more data coming in at 11 o'clock. We haven't covered that, so let's go over it now. So the 15-year mortgage rate went from 5.41 to 5.63. The 30-year went from 6.32 to 6.44. So again, this is what we talked about before. There's a little bit of oscillation. We're going a little bit higher, just like the 10-year yield. This will stabilize and start to roll over come springtime. Actually, probably even before the end of the year. Net long-term tick flows, it said 111.4 billion, whereas previous was 137.90. And let's just read. Let me see. Do I have this definition here? I don't know if I do. The net long-term tick flow tracks the flow of Treasury and agency securities, corporate bonds, and equities into and out of the United States. So we're seeing a tick flow of all of these. Let me just read this again, just so you can remember what it is. Track the flow of Treasury and agency securities, corporate bonds, and equities. So it's just kind of all of it, right? All of the different forms of bonds. And we're seeing an influx into the United States, and it's a pretty big number. And if we go back here, we can see how we were kind of trending down, but now it seems like we're starting to find a higher trajectory here. And if you average out all the numbers, like since before the pandemic, you could see where everybody thought after the pandemic, China was the place to go, and that was the economy that was going to do so wonderful. I knew that wasn't true, because I actually study China, but for thousands of hours, thousands and thousands. And but anyway, but it's interesting to see that, like, again, look at our bond markets over here, and then look at afterwards. There's just so much investment coming into the United States. It's actually kind of phenomenal. Foreign bond investment, it says this actual was 19.2 billion. So again, this is just foreign bond investment on its own. Previous 55.9 billion. And if we look here and just zoom out a little bit, again, you can see how this is still high compared to pre-pandemic. It's very high. It's funny how It's funny how everybody was like, fuck the USA after the pandemic. And then they were like, oh, let's go to China. And then they're like, oh, fuck, get back to the USA. Just funny how stuff works. All right, overall net capital flow, 79.2 billion actual. Previous was 159.1 billion. And again, similar things if you look here, just a lot of money coming in here now, whereas before it was much lower and we had a lot going out in the 2000s really. If you look down here, we had a lot of outflows. We had period of inflow too, but outflows were much stronger. 2013, 2017, that was probably the strongest China is the new thing narrative before everything fell apart. But I knew it was going to fall apart because I actually pay attention to it. All right, so real quickly on economic data, and I'll get caught up in chat. I'm sorry. I'm a little late. Japan, again, we're going to, tomorrow overnight, we're going to see inflation data from them across the board, foreign bond investment, stock investment by foreigners. We'll see a bunch of China-related data. This is a culmination of most of their data points. So if it's the data really not good, do you think maybe China might want to stimulate? So maybe there's something happening tomorrow with stimulating the economy again. Couldn't you see that? What is tomorrow? Is tomorrow Friday? I could see that. Could you see that? I could see that. I could see them coming out with horrible data and then being like, by the way, look at the shiny toy. We'll find out. But a lot of big data coming out of China overnight. Hong Kong in the morning, India, and then back to the U.S. where we have building permits and housing permits. Not a lot in the U.S. Then 2 in the afternoon, we get some Argentinian data. I'm so excited about that. Every bit of data I can get about Argentina, I get excited about. But yeah, that's it. That's all of it. Again, it was a good day, and people aren't as worried about rates. The bond market's best performance since 29 years. I don't know. Things seem pretty good. All right, so let me get caught up on comments, and then we're going to go into this long diatribe from this guy, Jurrien Timmer. He's the director of global macro for Fidelity. I actually think he's pretty smart. Some people shit on him. I think he's pretty brilliant. But we're going to read what he has to say, or I'll have Snoop Dogg do it. One of the two. Maybe we'll have Snoop. I like Snoop. But anyway, I digress. Let me get to comments here real quick. Bitcoin's still hovering around 67K. What are you guys' thoughts for the day? Did I miss anything? Did I miss anything big we need to talk about? Let me just roll through here. Sela said it's Albert, TSMC, NVIDIA, and MU are up. BTC is down. That is true. Michael Quinn, Jesse, you've made me a ton of money. Oh, that was that one. Thank you, sir. Oh, and I think I read through a few of these. And then, yeah, Benedict was so cool and gave 50 memberships. Everybody make sure you thank him if you got one. It's just this community is so wonderful. And I love that you're giving people a voice, too, at the same time, man. Alejandro, we're in front of a wonderful bull market. We need to take advantage of it. As experience has taught me that they don't last forever. NVIDIA up 18% in a month. TSM up 23% in a month. Small caps and uranium and quantum very bullish. OKLO up 149% in a month. Ionic up 54% in a month. I do not like Ionic. Anyway, but yeah, you can make a lot of money. Make your money, guys. Make your money and then put it in the good things you really want to hold for a long time. All right, let's keep going. Not Your Mom says, appreciate the membership gift. Don't even know how I got it, but thank you so much. You got it from Benedict. He is a good dude. Theo, how do I receive that gift? If you already have a membership, you cannot get gifted a membership. But if you don't have a membership, you can. So it's kind of a roll of the dice. Silas, Jared, it's nice when an active viewer participant gets membership. Agreed. Lim Jing Young, thanks. Haha. Theo, heart still. How do I receive that gift? Silas, oh no, that was that one. These things jump on me sometimes. Where do I sign up for Jesse's Discord? I put that out there. Lim Jing Young, why is SMCI down in TSMC news but was green on ASML news? I don't know if I know enough about the news. Part of it though, I mean, when we're talking chips, we got stuff we got to remember. And I don't know if I have all of that on here, but we have to remember that there's sanctions against companies that are doing any kind of chip manufacturing with China, in China. Those are areas that are going to hurt. So I can't give you exact reasons for why those are down. Chips and AI are areas I'm trying to delve more into. It's definitely where I want to spend more time. You could see that there were a lot greener chips earlier in the day. And then that number got much worse later in the day here. Where did I even have that? I don't even know. Oh, maybe it's over here. Yeah, you can see later in the day, the chips did not look as green. So we did see a decent shift in that. But yeah, and if you guys have any thoughts, throw them in the comments. But again, and we went over a little bit earlier just on some of the companies that get to benefit from all of this. And so Jesse Cohen had a nice little write-up. He talked about how AMD, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Intel, Apple, and Broadcom are all customers of Taiwan Semiconductor. And so people speculated, well, hey, if orders are up with Taiwan Semiconductor, then that means all of these customers, or at least some of them, probably had an influx of orders. I'm sure NVIDIA is on that list, but there's probably some big ones, right? So people speculated into a bunch of other chip stocks. That's pretty much what I can say. Hit the like button, you savages, says Jinzo. Raul Ramirez, thumbs up. Manny247, Waven. Matanga says, I'm up 180% on TSC or TSM. Should I bail out? We can take a look at the stock here in a little bit. Definitely, we can do that. Let me see here. Gunjan says, don't expect spending on AI to slow down anytime soon. Wall Street expects Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta to spend $60 billion on CapEx in the third quarter, up 56% year over year. So just think about how much this helps chips and companies like Micron. NVIDIA also, guys, if you look over here, look at this. Cantonese Cat had a great one on here just showing how it's breaking above its resistance. I don't know where it is right now, the 138.71. It might be back underneath of that again. We'll have to take a look in a second. Let me just jump out here. Oh, I guess that's it for NVIDIA stuff. Let me go back over. All right, let me read some more comments here. I'm up 180%. Oh, wait. NVIDIA, Alejandro, NVIDIA is going to keep rising. That company's monsters. I agree. I totally agree. If anyone tells you to sell it, they're not your friend. Yeah, I think the only reason you'd sell NVIDIA is to get a higher multiple. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to sell. Lim Jing Yun, would you recommend Mara December calls with BTC looking to break out soon? Want to increase my position in Mara? I don't like that short of a time frame, Lim. I don't know if you've seen my Option 101 video, but I really encourage you to look at it. I personally would look for a time frame that is longer than that. I currently like June and July contracts for different options. So if I was you, I would probably use optionsprofitcalculator.com. And if you haven't already, I would look at my options video. I'll throw it real quickly in here because you should understand the dangers of options. I think the more time you give it, the greater your odds of success. And I think they're very dangerous. And I want to make sure that people really get it before they get too crazy. Oh, did I just lost my restream? I got to figure out the errors on that. Anyway, you've got that in there. Now I've got to figure out where I left off here. There we go. Silas, Jesse making us sound like robber barons worried about wages. Yes, you robber baron. Yes. Silas, still, it's true. Kevin, we do have to worry about that. We just don't want the biggest threat is unionization, right? Like the East Coast guys and what's probably coming back in January. We just have to worry about them asking for really, really large increases and that driving up inflation and taking away from margins. And then you can just get weird downward cycle stuff. You want to have growth increase wealth of companies and then demand higher wages when the companies are doing really good. If there's a time that you're going to do it, it's then. It's not after a big inflationary move that you want people to be asking for higher wages. You want to make sure that the economy is stable and then boost up those companies and then demand a lot from them. But it has to be done in that order. Joseph Mock, what were your trades this week? Me? I haven't actually had any. Not one. My last trades were in the Discord. Let me just go up here. I did post something earlier talking about I thought MicroStrategy was a good time to buy. I did this. This is the only thing I posted recently in Discord, but I said MicroStrategy could be bottoming here, and that worst case, it could go down to 180, 170, and it would be a really good price. But as far as trades go, my last trade, right here, 1011, I sold a bunch of MSTX and BITX, and I bought a bunch of Tesla calls. So that's pretty much it. All right, let's get back over here. Let's get back on track. So again, I want to talk about Jurian, and I'll get through more questions in a second here. But I want to talk about Jurian and go through this real fast here. And this is a good write-up. Let me just see. I'm gonna have somebody read this because there's a lot here, and it's wordy to say the least. So give me 1 second. and then I will give my thoughts afterwards. But this is essentially speaking towards valuation. And one
based
sec.
on a long
I really want to hear this in Snoop's voice. I'm sorry. I'll go back to him later. Okay?
Long-term earnings growth rate of 6% at the current implied equity risk premium IERP of 3. 6% the market is worth 24. 6 trailing earnings per the discounted cash flow model, or DCF. If we swap that 3, 6% IERP for the historical average of 5. 0%, that P/E ratio falls to 16. 7x and 19 4x. The equal weighted P/E multiple sits squarely in the middle. How low is an IERP of 3? 6%. Per the chart below, it's definitely on the low side of history. Like beauty, valuation is in the eye of the beholder, and the market evidently feels that equities don't need to outperform the risk-free asset by more than 360 BPS.
Okay, so he's saying equities could still grow in value and be seen as cheap because the market doesn't think they need to outperform non-risk assets that much. And it's got a bunch of stuff in the chart. The S&P 500 forward. Let me just see here. I'll see if I can. Do you guys see this other thing? Shit, you do see that. I wish that was smaller. I got to figure out how to shrink that or something. Let me do this. Will that work? Oh, okay. That's a little bit better. Yes, S&P. So the black line is the S&P 500 forward PE ratio, the next 12 months. And you can see how, let me see, can I drag this down? Yeah, a little bit. You can see how that's at 21.9. And he said DCF intrinsic value, 6% growth of current IERP. That's in light purple is 24.6. And then he said 6% growth and 5% ERP is here in orange. And then he said filtered PE based on 2-year nominal yield is in green. And then S&P equal weight trailing PE is in blue, right in the middle. And so he's kind of showing us the range of all of this based upon different valuation metrics. So let's keep going.
DCF model is both elegant and frustrating because it tries to incorporate earnings, interest rates, and sentiment that
There's a lot to incorporate in the metrics.
IERP is essentially a sentiment indicator into one question. What is the market worth? The DCF is extremely sensitive to changes in the risk premium, as the table shows below. A change of 100 BPS in the cost of capital would lift or lower the fair value P/E ratio by more than 5 points. Part of the valuation story is the level and consistency of how much of earnings get returned to shareholders. For the U.S., the payout ratio of dividends plus buybacks as a share of earnings has been consistently above 70%, earning it among the highest valuation around the world. As long as this continues, U.S. equities will look expensive.
Yeah, he's right. They will look expensive, but I think they can look expensive for a while, which is kind of what he's implying here. What is this? Realized ERP 1926 to 2020. Implied ERP DCF 6% growth rate is in orange. So they're showing you in this gray what the realized ERP was for 1926 to 2020. And he's saying, hey, if you look at the DCF 6% growth rate, that looks like it is totally realistic. And if you look at the implied ERP LTM earnings yield, that's even lower. So again, and what do we have up top? 5-year cyclically adjusted P ratio. So it can look rich. I don't even know if I understand all of this, but essentially he's saying that it can look rich for a long time. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Did anybody get that better than I did? If you did, go ahead and throw it out. All right. I thought I had another one in there too. Let me go back. I think I have more U.S. economic stuff I wanted to cover within here. Actually, it was probably another post from him. An easier one to understand. For sure. It says following... Oh, here. Let's get Snoop for this part.
Following the recent strength in the jobs report as well as upward revisions to GDP, the market has rightfully walked back expectations of a more aggressive easing cycle. If neutral is 3.54, 0%, 100 BPS above inflation, that's at most another 4 or 5 cuts from here. Following the recent...
So what he's saying is maybe by March, or what is it, March and May of next year, we could be done cutting. And that what we would end up doing is have a neutral rate between 3.5% and 4%. I've been saying for probably not a year, probably like 9-10 months at least, that we will have a much higher neutral rate for inflation because we just have to. There's just no choice about it. And it looks like if you can see these pink or pinkish purple, whatever they are, dots for the dot plot, and then you can see what expectations are being adjusted to. You can see that the SOFR curve is bending higher per Bloomberg. All right, so that's an interesting one. Oh, I hate these bots. I don't know who this fucking guy is, but there's just bots spamming his shit all the time. I hate it so much. And again, earlier in the day, we talked about this real revenue growth. It says S&P revenue growth year over year, core CPI, and it's just showing how for the quarters we're seeing real revenue growth, and the projections still show strength. So that's good, right? That's good. We want to see revenue growth. And we talked about this too. The National Retail Federation estimates holiday sales will grow 2.5 to 3.5% in November to December, year-on-year basis, versus 5.3% last year. So it's slowing down, but it's still a good number. And it's a positive number. And then online spending is expected to go up 8 to 9%. And then also Rex Finance was talking about how you need to get in and drink the Kool-Aid now because the markets are going to melt up, and I 100% agree with that. All right, so that's all of that. Again, we're going to have an AI corner. We're going to have other stuff we talk about. Let me just look at comments to see if any new stocks and markets you might be buying into in 2025. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I have theses on. I really want to learn more about AI. We're going to be talking about Perplexity, listening to the CEO of that in a second here. I want to understand the chip market better. I think I'm starting to get more aware of it, but I can't pretend to know it really well. I don't know if anybody in Discord or in chat is really good at it. If they are, they should call out. If you're more knowledgeable, you should be throwing out your comments, because we're a collective here. We learn together, right? Do you have any thoughts on Live One? I don't, but we can look at that after we get. We've still got to go through a few other things real quick. Once we're done with that, we can definitely take a look. Let me see, what else do I have here? So I think we did. We're going to probably talk about Robinhood for a second. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Tesla. And then I've got some comments geopolitically about Sinwar's death in Gaza, and what the U.S. Department of Justice, or not Justice, whatever department it is in the federal government, thinks of what happened there and their chance for some kind of ceasefire, and what I believe might actually happen, which is probably pretty radical compared to what other people think. So we'll talk about that. And let's actually just kind of jump into it, and I'll dig through comments along the way. So as you guys know, Robinhood has a new platform. Amit in here said, this is a pretty decent amount of money flowing into Robinhood. More big accounts, more deposits, more adoption of other products like the credit card, more transaction volumes, all based on giving 1% to 2% match that can be made up in other areas of the business because 90% of the company's costs are fixed. Just one of the most unique ways of acquiring assets and real strategy to compete with the big players. And this person just said, moving 90K to Hood after seeing the future of active trader software, and we'll be moving the remaining 350K if I like it. See, I'm going to move $500,000. I didn't start it today, but I'm probably going to do it tomorrow. I'm trying to, like I said earlier in the morning show, I want to be able to get under that SPIC insurance limit. In case you guys don't know, you want to be underneath the $500,000 for your investment holdings in a particular account so that you're insured by the government. So that if anything crazy happens, and let's say Robinhood fails or Ally fails or whoever you have money with, Department of State, Anthony Blinken, thank you, Seedless. Always good for comments like that. But yeah, so if you ever have an investment company fail, you don't have to lose money. And this isn't a problem if you don't have over $500,000. But once you start to get millions and millions and millions, you want to separate out accounts to stay underneath this threshold so that you can ensure that you wouldn't lose money in the event of one of these exchanges going under. And people haven't experienced that in a very long time. But if you did, you probably know the pain of that. But my whole point here is I actually agree with Amit a lot on this particular comment. I think Hood could explode, guys. If we just look, I just want to go over it just 1 second, because I think this is a pretty monumental day. They're trading the futures, their trading platform, having an advanced desktop app. I haven't played around with it yet, but I'm going to. And then you just look at what happened before. Monthly active users were dropping, but again, that's okay. That's okay because these guys were making a bunch of money off of yield. Also, they were getting long-term accounts, big IRA accounts to transfer over, and they're offering 3% again, which is why I'm moving $500,000, because essentially they'll give me $15,000 for free, and I just have to custody with them, and I have to maintain my account there, and that's my plan to do that. So, and then anything after the 500, like if I double my money, I could still withdraw the other earnings. I would just have to keep the original contribution in here because they want that to be serviced under their account. They want a large balance sheet. Again, this is all good for them. But if you just look at the assets under custody and how much it exploded from Q2 of 2022 to where it is now. And again, well, you can't really see it on the yearly, but you can see this over here, just well beyond what they'd ever had before. And that is going to continue to grow a lot, I think. They have no debt. They've got they've got bonds, they got cash. Their operating expenses have gotten really well under control. You don't have the share dilution. Their estimates going forward, I think, are modest and going to be outperformed. And at the same time, they're going to be growing a lot. Now, you do have, if you look at the local time frame, you got institutional ownership going up, you got short interest going down, just a slight tick up the last couple of quarters. But really, if you go back here, more buying than selling all the way back to Q3 of 2021, and then the selling just continues to drop. So I think Vlad believes a lot in this company, and I think a lot of money can come in. And again, interest revenue breakdown, there's really great charts that Alejandro has under visualstocks.com. Again, I don't get paid by him for any of that. And look at the gold subscribers. Think about the money they're making off of people like me that pay extra for a gold membership. And there's just going to be more and more of those. And look at the retirement account growth. And just every metric is going in the right direction. Net accumulative accounts, you can see finally starting to really kind of tick up in a decent way. I think this is a good company. And trading revenues are only starting to kick off. And then they've got this advanced platform. So not only are you going to be adding gold subscribers, more retirement accounts, but you're going to be adding active accounts, and you're going to be increasing trading revenue too at the same time while all this interest income's coming in. I'm actually pretty excited about Robinhood. I'm pretty excited about Robinhood, guys. I think it's a good valuation. Forward PE is 37, but I think they're growing. I mean, look at the current PE is 81. Look at that leap. And I think that leap could continue over the next year. And then you've got the Bitcoin narrative behind it. I'm getting excited about Robinhood. I am. And I don't know how many calls I have. I should probably look. Let's just check real quick. I haven't even looked at my account really today. I've just been really lazy on the trading front. I've kind of set my position on where I want to be. And I'm just kind of chilling and waiting for things to happen, in all honesty. Let me just look over here, see how many options I have for Robinhood right now. And I think I only have them under this one account. Things are going to get more complicated, though, guys, for sharing my account when I start moving it into these other places like Robinhood, too. I'll have like Coinbase, Robinhood, Ally, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo, more Ally account. It's going to be like everywhere. Robinhood, it's going to be like everywhere. So it's going to be hard to show. I have about 146,000, it says in here right now. Looks like we ticked down a little bit today. Not 100,000 in losses, but, just like meh. Yeah, but Hood, again, and Hood was down today, but I'm really getting excited about Hood. I think it's a great opportunity. It looks like Tesla didn't really fall today. So Tesla's still kind of grinding where I bought it last week. It's a little bit lower than that, just a smidge, really. Just about 1-2%. So I think that's going to start wrapping around. Wish I had more Micron. Wish I had more chips right now. That would have been a nice way to have the day. But whatever, you take. It's not about winning every day. It's about winning in the long run, and that's definitely something I'll be doing. Let me see here. Where did we leave off? All right, so we haven't gotten to this video yet. I wanted to watch the Perplexity one. Let me see if there's anything else I want to cover here real quick. All right, so we covered Hood. Yeah, so I want to talk about, we covered a little bit of the AI stuff, but I want to listen to the CEO of Perplexity's thoughts on AI. I'm watching this long video on like robots taking our jobs and AI is the future and how they all need to be open source for the LLMs. Just a lot of fascinating stuff, especially when it ties to social media and learning and all that kind of stuff and sources of truth. I'm learning a lot, and so I'm going to be very much interested in this subject matter and talking about it more. Yeah, we'll definitely cover CleanSpark. I know there's a lot of people that want CleanSpark. We'll go over that really quick here. Let's just get through Perplexity, and then we'll get through Bitcoin and Tesla, and then we'll go into that. We'll go into all the Bitcoin stuff.
In that space, he wants a much bigger piece of that pie. Perplexity AI CEO Aravind Srinivas joins us now.
This is another one that's just really smart. Again, I'll let him talk for himself.
His company ramping up its efforts now to take on Google and others in search and advertising. Aravind, welcome. It's good to see you and welcome you to our program.
Thank you so much for having me here, Scott. Great to be here.
So you have some new features that you're introducing today, which you think will give users better and more targeted search results, correct? And also deliver them faster. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, 100%. So today we launched our internal knowledge search. So we want Perplexity to be the central knowledge base and research platform for everybody. And when people do their research at work, they're not only requiring research for the data that is already out there on the internet, on the
Oh, sorry, I don't know.
Abilities
Don't skip.
as either a complement to mobile or as a primary.
I hate that so much. I'm going to let this play for a second. I'm going to find that video. Unfortunately, sometimes if you like pause it when it's live, it'll just jump on you. And so like it had that buffered and then it tried to jump ahead. But we'll let them play out the Robinhood part, and I'll just grab that video again one more second because I do want to hear him.
And then using mobile as a complement to that. And part of that is all the capabilities to trade equities and options and all the charting functionality that is very important to our customers, and we've heard loud and clear that they need.
Steve, this seems like a play for profits in part, which is a good thing, hey, because the most profitable trading is going to happen on that bigger screen with a more complicated interface. And I can't help but notice there's nothing free about what you're offering here. This is supposed to drive, it seems, speed and capability.
Oh, no, it's free. The application is free to anybody on Robinhood. So all it is
No, but I mean the
just
trades
think of it as
themselves, the types of trades that you'd be doing within this interface, some of the future stuff that you're bringing online, et cetera.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, my misunderstanding. Yes, we're rolling out futures and index options, and both of those will come with a commission, a competitive commission, industry-leading commissions. But again, those are a complement to what we already offer for free on the option and equity side.
So
Is it order based? Is it like order flow based though? Do they give you like a cheap fee? Like I don't know how they're doing their futures and option stuff. I guess it might be asking a dumb question, but maybe one of you know. Is that going to still have like the order flow based stuff where like, yeah, you get a discount on the fee, but they also give you a shitty price if you're a day trader that's not great? Or is it going to be good? If you guys know, let me know. Otherwise, though, we're going to jump real quickly because I do have that link now. So we're going to go ahead and listen to the CEO of Perplexity finish his thoughts since he was so rudely interrupted. Unmute.
But there is another fast-growing player in that space that wants a much bigger piece of that pie. Perplexity AI CEO Aravind Srinivas joins us now. His company ramping up its efforts now to take on Google and others in search and advertising. Aravind, welcome. It's good to see you and welcome you to our program.
Thank you so much for having me here, Scott. Great to be here.
So you have some new features that you're introducing today, which you think will give users better and more targeted search results, correct? And also deliver them faster. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, 100%. So today we launched our internal knowledge search. So we want Perplexity to be the central knowledge base and research platform for everybody. And when people do their research at work, they're not only requiring research for the data that is already out there on the internet, on the web. A lot of research is about like due diligence documents or stuff that's particularly relevant to the company that you acquired in a proprietary way and storing within your internal knowledge base. And today there exists no one tool where you can do consolidated centralized research on both these data sources, the web and your internal company proprietary data together, and use both of these for answering your questions or like doing your due diligence or like deciding which companies to invest in, all those sort of decisions that you do on a day-to-day basis. There doesn't exist one single tool to do all of it together. And so far,
I love that. I got to play with Perplexity more. I love the concept.
the technology stack for external search and internal search have been pretty fragmented. They're very different. They're
Yeah.
completely different tools.
Like in their own silos. Totally.
And you have to like keep moving around data everywhere. It's very inconvenient to do all this. But with the advent of AI, like generative AI, large language models, multi-step reasoning, tool use, it's almost like every single source of data is just like another API call or a data API call or an integration. And these models can decide like what to use when for depending on your query you ask. And then we're able to bring it all together in one platform through Perplexity, and that's our announcement today.
That's cool. That's cool. I think combining all these silos of data sources and having like this logical thought process thing is really cool.
You know what I think is really interesting for our viewers and those who work in the financial services
He seems nervous. He doesn't seem like a CEO that gets out and talks a lot.
industry is that you're specifically targeting
Doing good, though.
Financial services as your largest vertical here. Tell me what benefit that's going to be to those who are either in the financial services industry who are watching now and who are going to use these tools, or for the viewers who are investing in the market and who are going to be better off by virtue of the tools that will be used by financial services professionals.
100%. So before today's launch, we also broadened the ability to query all the stocks on the market, get news relevant to any particular stock, or like search over.
Yeah, somebody brought that up to me just the other day. It's like, and I still have to play with it. I haven't. Let's see, Perplexity stock. Maybe I can see something. Yeah, check this out. So I love trying out new tools. This looks freaking awesome. I love that their AI allows you to be able to focus on finance and then like just pull in all this data and this charts and sourcing. And it's very exciting. You know, I'm adopting this shit. So I'm very excited to see what they offer with this. That's something I got to play around with. I'm actually going to save this too, again. Because again, the better our tools get, the easier life gets. That's the goal if you do it right. All right, let's move on. So that was an interesting interview. We're going to move on to Bitcoin and talk about that. So again, I just want to reiterate, I try to show people visually just to keep them happy, you know. But if anything, if you look at the average here, this yellow line at the bottom for RSI levels, you can see where, what are we at, 60? And then back over here in the yellow, we were at about 60. So we're kind of trending along. If anything, you know, that's kind of our average. And if you look up here, you can see the time frame that we're at. This is like the time where you get the breakout. And there's so many different ways to look at this and confirm this. On every level, macro level, and it just actual data points, on-chain metrics. But this is what's coming, and it's not insignificant. Can it go up to 800,000? I don't think so. I think that's unrealistic. I think you need to scale it down. But could you get up to 280 up here? Yeah, it's possible. The scale of this just needs to be changed. That's the part that's off. And if it goes to 800, fuck, awesome, exciting. All right, so this is kind of a funny. I had to play this. So this is Michael Saylor. This is Michael Saylor being asked to explain Bitcoin. And it says, if you feel frustrated explaining Bitcoin, just watch this clip. Think about being Michael Saylor. Think about he changed and became pro-Bitcoin and how many interviews he's done. And he talks for a long time. So just listen to this. It's funny.
Why don't you break this down simply for people like me that don't fully understand it?
Okay.
If you went out the yield curve on bonds, or if you went in.
Sure.
Is constantly growing. It's happening as all of these new companies, So
let's just start at the beginning, if you don't mind explaining what is it?
Sure.
I'm sorry. If you've been in here a couple of cycles and you've had to explain Bitcoin to people, you definitely start to feel this way after a while. So maybe I got more of a kick out of that than everybody else, but man, it's fucking funny. All right, here we go. Invest Answers, my buddy James. He put out, and Bank of America, ignore the elephant in the room. So Bank of America put out, this was a while ago, a couple hours ago, warns that gold may be the final safe haven as U.S. Treasuries face risks from rising national debt. I mean, I think that the rising national debt could get a lot worse if it's Harris because she doesn't have a Doge. But also, it's just funny that they didn't say Bitcoin. They didn't include Bitcoin. It just shows you how Bank of America is probably one of those dying banks, right? I think they had one of the most foreclosures when we were looking at that chart. Not good stuff. Astes says, BTC, this is literally the monthly Bitcoin chart right now. So what he's pointing out, and he does have a projection here, but he's saying guys, this is beautiful. This is great. This is where we break out and we make a lot of money. And I agree with them. This is a beautiful looking chart. This is a gorgeous looking chart. And again, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but ETFs have purchased 24,600 Bitcoin. That is a ton. You can see that the trend is just up. It was up a lot in the beginning, and now it's just continuing its path. And the inflows are record breaking. I said this earlier too, but basically Bitcoin, I think that Bitcoin ETFs got to where gold was. It took gold 5 years to get to this level, which means Bitcoin did it like 7 times faster or something. Like it's just crazy. It's definitely the next big thing. All right. And this simple strategy, I showed this earlier, but I got to show it again, guys. Look at this. If you bought Bitcoin 500 days before the halving. So think about this next halving. If you bought it before, you were down here. If you sold it after 500 days after the halving, you were up here. If you bought it before, you were down here. If you bought it 500 days after, you were right here. So if you sold out. Over here, if you bought 500 days and then they sell, and they put it up in the 220 range, I mean, it's probably going to play out that way again, and that it will have diminishing returns. It'll have all the other stuff, but it is like clockwork, and it does rhyme a lot. So just make sure you own Bitcoin. And then this one I played earlier too, but I do want to show it one more time, and then we'll jump into Tesla, and then we'll talk about these other stocks, okay?
In control, I think the next big step would be if a government that has the ability to print and debase and uses a central bank
I hate that I can't
manipulate and
resize.
control and
1 second. That didn't
influence
work
the
way I
time,
wanted. There we go.
energy, effort, and labor of the populace and of society. If a government that has that power is able to buy Bitcoin and acknowledge it, not even the legal tender part, just acknowledge it, own it, and
He basically thinks that the U.S. is going to be a leader in Bitcoin. I agree with that, especially if Trump is elected, because you're going to have a Bitcoin crypto council. You'll have Michael Saylor on it and a bunch of other really smart people, and you'll be grafting regulation based on it. All we know with Harris is that she wants people to give her crypto. She doesn't say much more than that. And and maybe she hires Mark Cuban. How horrific, and how much do you think he'd go after Elon Musk? But this is fascinating. I agree with him, and I just want you to hear it.
validate it. That would be a huge deal. And I actually think the United States of America is probably
USA.
in the best position to do that, and where I think they're the most likely candidate because they have the world reserve currency. Like the U.S. is like, we're broke. Like we just issued
True.
debt. Like we're,
Fair.
being the world reserve currency implies that we run these massive deficits and we issue all of this debt, right? And so we are the most incentivized to actually start back.
Oh, my bad. I shouldn't have clicked on that. Oh.
Looking on a map, looking through Latin America, I said, it might be the United States. Bitcoin's very American, and the United States, in theory, is technology, innovation, inclusion, equality. Every node on the network is treated equal. You can come and go as you please. So maybe I'm manifesting a little bit. Maybe this is less of a prediction, more of a hope. But I think that would be a really big.
I think it actually perfectly represents American values, and it represents capitalism, right? And which is also a very American trait, is that Bitcoin, you buy it, you hold it, you don't have to worry about government intervention, you don't have to worry about them printing it away, you can keep it, you can make it to where they never get it. It can burn up in a boating accident. It's very American. And then when you look at the holders of it and you add them all up, you add all these top holders, it's like they're the MicroStrategies, the Teslas, these big Bitcoin publicly traded miners, a bunch of individuals in the United States. A massive amount of Bitcoin accumulation is in the United States. Even our own government has a very large position, one of the largest on earth. So there's so much. And then just Michael Saylor alone, 250,000 plus now, right? So there's so much concentration of Bitcoin. And Satoshi Nakamoto, if he was Hal Finney, and that's American too, even though it won't go anywhere. But there's so much concentration here in the United States. I do think we can be the next big player in Bitcoin, and I think it can help. I've said this for a long time. I actually think Bitcoin can save us I think it can save us because if we have AI, robotics, autonomy that are lowering the cost of everything and that are creating efficiency and helping with growth and printing GDP like Elon Musk says, and then at the same time we start working to control our government debts and we hold Bitcoin and start adding to a reserve and maybe we start acquiring every month, we could literally help this asset class solidify our status as the world reserve currency for decades and decades ahead. You got to remember, this thing's going to we could keep spending away and doing our Keynesian economic bullshit, and we could pump the price of Bitcoin while making America great and also creating just an age of abundance. I think we're at the perfect time to be as indebted as we are. At least we're not like China, which is like 3x what we are. Then we'd be screwed. But we're salvageable. We're the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry, and it's coming. We will be the world reserve asset, I think, still. People just look at it like our printing as something that has to stop right away. It doesn't have to. It just has to be turned into wealth in Bitcoin that we have the most control over. And if that's true, then we benefit.
Deal. And as big of a deal as El Salvador was, the next step would be a government that actually can print their money and debase the populace.
Oh, can the United States do that? Since we're the world reserve currency and the dollar usage is actually growing and not going down, even though BRICS would love to have you think otherwise.
Through money printing, if they were to say this Bitcoin thing's legit and we should have some,
then we can debase the shit out of our currency and at the same time enrich our nation.
I think that'd be massive.
Agreed, brother. And this is one of my favorite people on earth in the Bitcoin community. He is an absolute stud. Anyway, that's it for that. So, again, you guys know my thesis. You know that I still believe, and this is Milan Kovac, for anybody who does not know. He's an Optimus Tesla bot engineer, and he had this to say. We'll go down and have Snoop talk about it. But it's pretty important, and I want to show you guys this video. Let me just refresh. And then once we get done with Tesla, like I said, we'll go ahead and start pulling up charts. Anything you guys want to look at, I can look at the ones I always do, or we can look at the ones you want.
While we were busy making its walk more robust for 10/10, we've also been working on additional pieces of autonomy for Optimus. The absence of useful GPS in most indoor environments makes visual navigation central for humanoids.
I'm going to switch to Cliff.
Using its 2D cameras, Optimus can now navigate new places autonomously while avoiding obstacles, as it stores distinctive visual features in our cloud. And it can do so while carrying significant payloads. With this, Optimus can autonomously head to a charging station. Dock itself requires precise alignment and charge as long as necessary. Our work on Autopilot has greatly boosted these efforts. The same technology is used in both car and bot, barring some details and, of course, the dataset needed to train the bot's AI. Separately, we've also started tackling non-flat terrain and stairs. Finally, Optimus started learning to interact with humans. We trained its neural net to hand over snacks and drinks upon gestures, voice requests. All neural nets currently used by Optimus, manipulation tasks, visual obstacles detection, localization, navigation, run on its embedded computer directly, leveraging our AI accelerators. Still a lot of work ahead, but exciting times.
I'm sorry, this is so cool, and I just want you to see the video with it. This is a big deal, guys. Again, not only do I think that we're getting a new vehicle this next first half of the year in 2025, basically by like June, July of 2025, we will see a Cybercab that you can drive and you can buy for the $25,000, maybe after the tax credit. But also on top of that, we've got everything else going on with this company. And then there's real progress on this Optimus robot. And just watch this and think about the fact that 3 years ago, this was a dancing puppet of a human being. And now it's a real robot that is on like its 4th gen, maybe 5th now. And just look at it. Look at how amazing it is. Look at its degrees of movement. Look at it. Turn that down a little bit. Look at that. Together, multiple bots shared information to be able to paint a picture of this location. Look at this. Look at this. God. I'm glad they're doing this then instead of having the charging like up his butt and he sits down. I think that just would not look good. Now, to be clear, this one isn't being teleoperated. This is one doing this task. Yeah, Chris, I can't wrap my head around what Optimus will be in like 2 years, let alone 10. You're right. It's insane. Also, this is just a car company, but Tesla Model Y is Turkey's 4th best-selling car on top and top EV in September. Again, I talked about this earlier. Stellantis, massive reduction in sales. BMW failing. Volkswagen failing. All these companies are falling apart all across the world. And Tesla not having any of these problems. Tesla seeing growth. Tesla number 1, top 5, whatever. Also, we've got Tesla's lithium refinery, and it says, looks good. Construction progress is being made at Tesla's lithium refinery since the last update the company provided. And this is from Joe. I'm going to add Joe. He said, I just finished flying at Tesla's lithium refinery plant near Corpus Christi, and there are many changes since my last update. Here are a few images of my flight. More in a narrated video later today. I'll probably watch that because I'm nerdy enough to where I watch this stuff. I watch Giga Texas get built. I'll watch this too. And I think he was actually the person that was showing it. But again, just more photos of everything they're building, how they're building it. You could just see stuff coming together like crazy. And lithium refining getting underway. So Tesla is going to be a leader in that too. Just give it time. All right. Also, I thought Dylan Loomis had a great explanation here. So I wanted to cover. He said, it all makes sense now. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do my buddy here because this is just too much to read.
It all makes sense now. There was a medical emergency for an attendee before we robot that delayed the Tesla event start time. Warner Brothers likely had time constraint for Tesla the night of the event so they could return the studio to its normal conditions. Elon really wanted the guests that traveled from around the world to get to experience the event a ride. In Cybercab, interact with Optimus, chat with the team. Given the unexpected time crunch, Elon skipped a large part of the presentation as a courtesy to the attendees. We also learned that Optimus was a late addition to the event about 3 weeks prior. Given Tesla's safety-first mindset, they decided to give human assistance to Optimus via teleoperation because there wasn't enough time to get the software ready for the chaos of a real-world event. But, based on the new Optimus video and it reacting to hand gestures, it looks like Optimus could have actually done many of the things it did at the event autonomously and more. Like stairs, had the team had more time to prepare for it. So Tesla wasn't faking progress to try to fleece anyone. It was just being cautious and wanted to ensure the event ran smoothly. Really, the only option was so little time to prepare. Elon wasn't unprepared for the presentation. He made a judgment call to benefit the guests at the event, knowing that in time, the details from the presentation will become public. The guests, on the other hand, would never get another chance to experience the event. As an Optimus engineer said, none of these shots in the new video are teleoperated. Optimus may be even more capable autonomously than many of us were thinking at this stage TSLA.
So again, cool stuff. Don't assume the worst with Tesla or Elon Musk. I don't think it'll be good if you do. I think that's a lot. I think this covers a ton of it. And again, I said, all these companies are struggling. Volkswagen deliveries fall as industry challenges mount. I actually think this is why Tesla was down today. I think people are lumping Tesla up with all the failures of Stellantis this last week. Also, in regard to, companies like Volkswagen and many more that are shrinking in size, and they're going to be shutting down a plant in Germany. And instead of that happening for Tesla is looking to double output in Germany and become the largest manufacturer in Germany of vehicles. So again, I just think there's important things that we understand. Also, I don't think my slide got in here, or you know what, maybe it did and I need to refresh, but there's one more chart I wanted to show you. It was from James, and let me see, maybe it didn't get in here. Let me just go to it real quick because I do want to show it. 1 second here. And thank you to Jason, the TA guy that has been nice enough. Oh, here it is right here. This is the one I want to show. If you guys could like to, retweet whatever for this video, that's appreciated. But James Stevenson said, Tesla is still clinging to a narrow lead over its competitors. He's being sarcastic. This guy also looks like he's probably tiny, but he's a fucking giant. But he said, let's confuse the AI assistants that can't interpret the meaning of images or detect sarcasm. So he's saying, like, hey, let's see if somebody will put this on in some news feed because it's negative about Tesla. But yeah, August U.S. EV registrations. Can you tell me which one on the list is the Tesla killer? Can you guys, if you could raise your hand in chat, can you tell me which one is the Tesla killer? Because I've been hearing about these Tesla killers for so long, and it still seems to me that when you add up all these other companies combined, you get Tesla's output. Maybe less. Anyway, that's it. That covers a lot. I got one geopolitical thing, and then let's jump into stocks, guys. And I'm going to get back into comments here. So, oh yeah, wrong one, geopolitics. So I did have a theory, and I wanted to talk about this. So Matthew Miller, the State Department spokesman, let's just listen to what he has to say.
It does not include changes.
So here's the difference.
One sec. I got to bring the volume up.
So here's the difference. Over the past few weeks, there have been no negotiations for an end to the war because Sinwar has refused to negotiate. There's been no path to ending this war because Sinwar has refused to talk about releasing the hostages or coming to a ceasefire. We now see an opportunity with him being removed from the battlefield, being removed from the leadership of Hamas, and we want to seize that opportunity.
It does not include.
Yes, Chris, you're right. I did say 30 to 32 for dialing out of CleanSpark options, and we can take a look at that in a second here. So I wanted to talk about this and my thoughts on it. So it says, breaking. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller confirms that Sinwar was the obstacle to a ceasefire. If you guys haven't seen this guy, he was basically the head of Hamas and their effort in Gaza. And he's got a big fucking hole in his head. Excuse my French. So I'm pretty sure he's dead. It's a big hole. Don't know where his brains are, but definitely stuff missing. So he's gone. And what they're saying here is that because he's gone, we'll be able to have negotiations. I think this is a PR stunt. I think the Biden and Harris administration are trying to make it look like they're establishing peace in the Middle East. If I were them, I would worry about Israeli leadership, Netanyahu specifically. Still doing a retaliatory measure, maybe even on nuclear facilities with Iran before the election. Because if you think about it, if you like Trump better, and Netanyahu does, you got to remember Kamala Harris, she didn't even show up when he talked to Congress, Netanyahu. Imagine what kind of snub that is, okay? And yet she's supposed to be friendly to Israel, one of our greatest allies. That's what we've been saying for decades and decades and decades and decades. Because really they represent the West and the Middle East, and they are the front line. So in this war against terrorism, if you believe in such things, which I do, then they need to do well. And so think about it. If you're him, if you're Netanyahu, what are you more likely to do? Go after the Iranian regime, a regime that is getting close to having a lot of nuclear power at a time that is most opportune, where you could potentially also influence an election and push Donald Trump into the lead because you would listen to him. That will be his pitch, right? That's what I think the pitch would be. So that's my thesis. I could be wrong. I've been wrong on a lot of things in life, but I feel like I'm going to be right on this one. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next 3 weeks and see if they end up looking foolish, trying to make it look like they're finding peace in the region when things are getting ready to escalate another step. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. It's my thought. I don't know if it's right. All right, let's get to it, guys. What kind of questions you got? So I did see a few different questions in here. Gaza can calm. So Sila said Gaza can be calmed down now, but Hezbollah and the IRGC and the Ayatollahs are remaining. Yeah. So I don't even know. Yeah, you're right. Gaza can calm down. Maybe, but I don't know that Israel is going to calm down. That's my thought process. Broccoli Bob, hello everyone. The port was basically flat for the day. Your portfolio? Cool. Shale, Jury and Timmer, is he drumming caution? Equities may be overvalued? No, I don't think so. I think what he's saying is they can remain overvalued for a long period of time. That's what I'm deriving from it. But if you have an explanation that differs, please throw it out. CleanSpark, yes, let's do CleanSpark. Let's just double check Bitcoin. I don't think it's really went anywhere. Again, I think it could trade sideways to down for a while. I think this is pretty healthy. I don't think this is a big deal. I like trading in this range. I should make this red though, because it is resistance. It never got turned into support. I know some people said breakout confirmed. Was it though? Was it? Maybe you should use candle bodies and get your technicals right. Not people in our group, just people, period. You know what I mean? All right, so let's keep going. And Lynn was talking about Netflix being up after hours. That's cool. I love to see him doing good. Yeah, we were going to talk about, so Bitcoin looking good. Let's go to CleanSpark. We'll talk about all of it. So MSTR, I posted that video earlier, or not video, but I showed you a post earlier, a subscriber only one, where I said, hey, this is actually a really strong point to find support. You can even see it here. Look at this. We closed 193.42. And we're down 0.35% on the day. And then what have we done? We've climbed 0.56. So we got down to the first fib, and then we found support on it. And just looking at the daily time frames, I would say this is a bottoming pattern. So I do think that MicroStrategy is starting to find some equilibrium, and maybe MSTX is looking desirable again in the future. So if you're not in it, maybe it's starting to get more interesting. And I think that worst case scenario, I've said it before, but like if we get down to the 170, 180 range, this is really strong support in here. And so that to me, I might step into MSTX. If I get like a PayPal earnings, you guys got to remember, next week is earnings. Let's just talk about that real quick and we'll do CleanSpark. So we've got earnings season really starting. And when I say earnings, I mean earnings for things that I pay more attention to. There's obviously a lot of earnings right now. We had the TSMC that was definitely market moving. We have Netflix, Blackstone. We got a bunch of companies in the list today. But some of the ones I really care about because they're a part of my portfolio, that starts next week. And so if we just flip over to next week's calendar, oh, it did the monthly here, my bad. Let me go back and I'll go to weekly. So if we go to next, oh, does it do that every time? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so again, I care about transport, so I'm looking at TFI International. Enphase, just curiosity. Teladoc, it's probably a disaster, just curious. Tesla, Wednesday. This is the first really big one for me. And then it's Amazon on Thursday. And then the next week, we're just going to start. It's going to be earnings time. So I'll be doing a lot of earnings videos. I'll obviously be doing PayPal on the 29th. I'll probably be doing Hood on the 30th because it matters to me the most. It's the most interesting to me. And then, again, starting the beginning of November, we've got Bitfarms, HIMS, Palantir. I'll probably do Bitfarms. That's probably one I'll focus on. You got Simon Property Management. This is malls. You got Airbnb. Always fascinating to see how they're doing just for macroeconomic stuff and travel. Mercado Libre, MicroStrategy. I'll probably do MicroStrategy. And then, again, we got more. We got Block on Thursday. So I'll probably be doing Block, MicroStrategy, and Bitfarms next week. I'll leave Palantir. There's plenty of coverage on that, in November. So there's a lot. And then again, next week I'll be doing Robinhood for sure and PayPal. And so we're going to be going over a lot of stuff, a lot of earnings. So I'm at least going to be doing 5 of these, maybe 6. And then there's just so many other things reporting. So we're going to be very much in the heart of earnings season. Baby Doge spike. What, Silas? I got to catch up to you guys' conversation. All right, let me keep going. So I'm just going to jump back over to Bitcoin and let this... CleanSpark. Duh. Let me do that too. I know a bunch of you asked for this one, so we'll pull it up. So CleanSpark. I actually think it held up really good today, down 1%. And after hours, it's really only down like 0.75. So it held up great. It's had a great run. I mean, look at this nice little bounce off of $8. I'm very excited about CleanSpark. I think CleanSpark is getting ready to take off. And yes, if I just adjust this here, guys, these are my actual targets. And we'll talk about this here. I maybe need to document it better. But with options, when it comes to options for CleanSpark, I've got July ones. I'm going to probably be, and it's not really here, I'm probably going to be like, once we get up to here in like the 22 range, I'll probably be 25% out of my options maybe. It just depends on timing, but maybe 20, 25%, maybe even less than 20. at $22, the first fib. That is a 90% move. That means I'll make almost 200% off that move if that happens in short order between now and the end of the year. But I think we can go higher than that. I think we can go to 30 between now and the end of the year pretty easily, especially if we go to 92,000 with an overshoot to 40. At 30, I'd probably be maybe like 60, 70, maybe 75% out. And then that extra 25% I'd probably let ride to 40. And then I would be 100% out of all options for CleanSpark. But I got to play this by ear too, because this can move so much. But if it goes up 246% and I make 500%, that's a lot of money. Maybe I'll have 30% left for that last one. Maybe it'll be like 15% here, 40% here, and then like, or 50% here, and then like all of it gone here. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I've still got to figure it. These things are so fluid because there's so many other things going on. Doge is the nobility of the meme coins. Doge is moving. We have a dog coin moving. That's surprising. We've got PopCat too. So PopCat today doing better. So you want to be around the Pussycats because PopCat is moving. Let's check the week on PopCat. PopCat's okay. Mog, the other cat, and Mew. It's really a cat's game today, guys. This last week has been a cat game. Doge, okay. Bonk, not bad. I own those. I didn't buy any cats. Sucks. Just happens, you know. What do you do? But anyway, yeah, CleanSpark looks good. Let's keep rolling. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about, let's go through it. So Raphael, you said CleanSpark target by end of year if Trump wins. So again, maybe 40. Maybe in the 40s right up here. And I get that 246 and I get a nice return. That's what I would hope for. I would love that. Live and Go. Can you research Pi empennage sticker antenna to track groceries and product if possible? Barely profitable but overvalued. You might need to give me some more clarity. Is that like a stock ticker symbol or a crypto or something? Dave Robinson, what do you think SoFi could get into in the next year? What do I think it could get to for range? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Let's just look. So, the SoFi. We got a little retracement. Not a bad place to retrace. Kind of forming a pattern here. I don't know if this is a double bottom, W bottom, something. I think SoFi, and what was your question? What was the time frame? In the next year. I think SoFi, depending upon how the market does, I think it could find resistance maybe at 15. If we're talking like into 2025, I think it could get between 15, maybe even 21 to 25. It could do that. This would not be crazy at all. I'm a momentum play. Like I'm looking for things that are going to flip and go a lot higher. But I mean, we could do a Palantir in a year and a half, which is like closer to the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, right? We could do a 28 move and then maybe have some downward move just for like one of the biggest cups and maybe a handle down to the 20s or lower, maybe down even to here like 17, 18, and then we turn that up. I think SoFi is a growing bank and I think it's a good value, so it could do a lot. It could do a hell of a lot. So I wouldn't be betting against it, but again, it's not as big of an asymmetric move as some of the other stuff I love. Jarrett, options are cheap on Robinhood. Todd Gleason, I heard years ago Robinhood did payment for order flow. They still do. So I just wonder, does that apply to their futures and other stuff? Mike Lauk, what date and strike are you looking at? I don't know what that part is about. I'm going to move on. I use Perplexity and it's really good, says John Nigerian. I'm only scratching the surface too. Yeah, I got to start playing with it. Charles Stewart, sounds like ChatGPT plus Palantir. Could be, kind of. Jarrett Matson, I suck as a hedge fund manager. I'm sorry. Hopefully you don't have a hedge fund. Mike Lauk. Oh, I thought you meant leaps, Jarrett. Albert, press the like button. PD. Sure, I'll explain. Benedict. Jesse, could you explain how BTC has been stagnant for so long despite massive inflows from BlackRock? Yeah, so I think they did all kinds of things. They did probably like spoofing, order spoofing is a big thing that they can do. They probably pulled out every tool in the toolbook to be able to make it to where they could buy as much Bitcoin as possible and move the price as little as possible. They probably bought all of the OTC, like over-the-counter trade, not market-driven stuff they could get their hands on. I know Coinbase was building up a stack before, so you got to look at it this way. Look at it this way. It's not, you can't look at it as, hey, with the ETFs coming in, why isn't Bitcoin went up so much? That's not the proper way to look at it. It's different than that. This is how you look at it, okay? Let me just do this real quick. This is how you look at it. So the way you look at it is that the ETF was born, right? And the ETF, when did it fall in? Let me see here. ETF is right here, okay? So what did we do before the ETF? Wow, right? So do you think maybe that Coinbase was stacking Bitcoin for, since it was like all of the major ETFs as far as custody? Do you think maybe they were front loading all of that before the ETF, buying up as much Bitcoin as they could? That way they could help dump into markets, price suppress. And so they probably did all that and were stacking Bitcoin. Maybe they were even stacking over here. Then they just had a shit ton of it, right? So having here, they had a shit ton of it. They had plenty to work with. They had OTC. They had a bunch of connections. There was a nice run. And then you can still flood. You can still have BlackRock flooding into with these ETFs and other ETF providers that are all doing custody under Coinbase. But Coinbase isn't really moving the price. This would be the right way to do it. And I think this is the way they did it. So I think that is why. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. And but now I think it's time for launch. I think they're out. If we, again, there was another chart I was showing, but like Bitcoin on exchanges is just plummeted. It's really low. Chris Federal, I'll have a better understanding of Optimus 20 years from now, as opposed to explain the Doge market cap. The Doge market cap. Yeah, it's probably Doge per dog coin. It's probably higher than it should be. I hope that helps though. And then you said too, despite massive inflows from BlackRock, et cetera, by the same token, what would it take to rip to 200? I don't think it's going to take a lot. I think the entire world is desperate for Bitcoin. We got companies buying it. We've got governments mining it. We've got governments buying it. We could end up buying it if Trump gets elected, honestly. And yeah, because Trump's son, Trump Jr. or whatever, and then Barron, both of those guys seem to really get Bitcoin. And so they're the driving force behind getting Donald to understand it. I don't think he'd get there on his own. I mean, again, he was trying to sling a shitcoin. I don't think that was a very good idea either. But I think it's gonna. I think here's my target. So if you zoom way out, right? If you zoom way out, here's kind of my thesis on it. If we go back, I think I make this argument that we've been in a channel for a very long time, since 2017. We've been in this channel of support zones and resistance zones, and they're almost perfectly lined up with each other. It's really ridiculous. And we briefly went underneath this channel during the pandemic, but that was because it was a pandemic. You're going to get an abnormality in a pandemic, but the line, again, was found very good throughout here. And the resistance line, again, kind of peaks. They trend very well in this channel. So my thesis is that we could see 270, 280 for a high, but I'm going to be out of all leveraged plays, and that means like miners, shit coins by 150K. I'm going to be out of all of that stuff. And then if I hold anything, it'll be ETFs, and I'll ride that up to maybe 270, 280, and then I'll dump out of those. I don't mind not making every penny. I say this all the time, but I'll show this again right now for people that might be new here. So if this cycle we make from this number 1,700%, let's say you captured 1,600% of that. We're at 280,000. Or let's do a lower number. Let's do this. Let's say we're at 150K, and this is where it gets confusing, but you have to do the math. Let's say we're at 150K. You've made 850% with multipliers. Maybe you're 1,500%. Maybe you're 2,000%. Maybe you're more. Okay. By the time we get to 150K, you made all this money. Well, to get from 150K to my next target of 280, it's only 90% more in gains. It looks like on paper you've made a lot more because, again, it's like 1,600 versus 850. So it looks like a big number. But really, are you going to risk your 1,000% or whatever it is on average that you made to get to 150 for that last doubling? Or are you going to average out of that, put it in other things that could go up 5, 10x in the next couple of years, whereas this one might be topping after it doubles? I'll be going into other things that will be good hedges. I'll be going into things that can provide asymmetric opportunities. That's the way I think you should look at Bitcoin this cycle. Don't worry about the last 100%. That's my mentality. The last 50 to 100% is not worth your time and effort. You should seek safety before you seek that. And that's the way I feel about investing. That's my stance. I hope that helps. And thank you for the 50. Silas, yes, you've been trying a variety of functional definitions of Bitcoin on people recently. I do. Are you talking to me? BGZ, smiley face. Benedict, Jesse, could you... Oh, no, we did that one. Let's keep going. Bitcoin certainly reflects 19th century American values. Agreed, Silas. Alejandro, NVIDIA price target raised to 190 from 165 by BAC. Cool. Silas, Bitcoin can help impose discipline on our government. It's the antithesis of modern monetary theory. I agree. And here's the thing. Even if they don't, here's the thing I love about it, Silas. Even if they don't find, fiscal responsibility with AI, autonomy, and robotics, and stacking a bunch of Bitcoin, they can even fuck shit up and will still win. It's an insurance plan. I love it. Silas, but the PRC, the People's Republic of China, is in much, much worse shape. And they might have a higher hash rate right now, but they're just not doing as well. Yannick says, DLO. I haven't looked at that in ages. Let's do it. How did DLO do today? And thank you for everybody that's here. I really don't care about likes anymore. I don't even care so much about an audience. I care about you guys and saving you time. So I'm going to skip asking that stuff all the time. Just like I got rid of ads, we're going to try and find efficiency and not waste energy. All right, DLO down 2.91%. It wants to break higher. Looking at this chart, it wants to break higher. It's got like this weird, I don't know, you can't really call this a cup. You could almost call it like a weird head and shoulder, and then like with a handle on it. It's a very strange pattern, but it wants to break higher. It's very evident. I mean, look at this. Look at the way it pushes up against this volume profile over and over and over again. Once it does break up, it's going to be a quick run to $10, I think. So that's DLO. That's my thought process on that. Albert, Boston Dynamics robot does cool but useless stuff. Tesla Optimus does real work. And one of them has a brain, right? It's like not having a brain. What was it? The Tin Man was missing a heart. But just remember, just pretend like the Tin Man didn't have... which one? Was it the Tin Man? I'm trying to remember. There was the one that didn't have the brain. He was the lion, right? Was he the cowardly? I don't fucking remember. I don't remember any of that shit. I don't even know why I'm bringing up the analogy. It's been a long time. Anyway... The whole point is that the Boston Dynamic robot doesn't have a brain. It's a remote control toy. And there might have been some teleoperation with the Optimus robot, but as we've seen, it has a brain and it's getting smarter and it'll continue to. Chris Federal, I can't wrap my head around Optimus will be like in 10 years. Okay. Yeah. BD Optimus always looks like he needs to poop when walking. He's going to look that way for a while. Chris Federal, it will be a snowball once the basics are done. Silas, Boston Dynamics might be bought out by an AI company. They're good at designing and yeah, maybe. I don't know. Costs, though, are a really big thing. It's like you got to be able to sell a robot. And so the actual materials, it all goes back to the fundamentals of why I love Elon Musk. First principles, and it all goes down to efficiency, starting from the beginning. What can we eliminate for parts? The best part is no part. And I think that with that kind of mentality, Optimus is just going to be so far ahead of everybody else. But you're right. Somebody will probably buy that trash out. But Boston Dynamics is trash. They really did nothing for decades outside of create cool remote controls. Xian O, can't wait to get Optimus. Me either. I'm going to order 5. Chris Federal, could Silas Alvaro. BD, they trained it in walking using Joe Biden. It actually walks better than Joe Biden. It falls less going upstairs. And you got to love that. Shin Ho, NVIDIA tomorrow. NVIDIA tomorrow. Is tomorrow NVIDIA earnings? Fuck yeah. We got to do that. I need to update my sheet if I don't have that on there. Do I not have that on there? Is tomorrow NVIDIA earnings? Let's go to the week. If it is, we're doing that. Yeah, it is, right? I think it is. I don't know. My brain is so foggy lately. I will add NVIDIA here and add it as a favorite and see if it's in my list. I think you're right. I got to go through the earnings list and figure out which ones I really want to focus on. So it is there. When is their earnings? I should say it right down here. November 9th. Oh, no. What did you say, NVIDIA tomorrow? It's the 7th. It's the 19th, according to this. Am I wrong here? Alejandro, Toyota and Hyundai's Boston Dynamics are joining forces on AI-powered robots. Or are you just talking about buying NVIDIA tomorrow? I don't know. AK, Jesse, at what price levels would you start dialing out of your CleanSpark? I already covered that. Haywood, Jablomi. Everybody loves Jablomi. With Optimus, you're looking nursing home replacement. You're looking at replacing every form of human labor on the planet. Dizzy Kodak, I hope Tesla price stays low so I can rotate crypto into profits. Me too. That's kind of my prevailing theory right now is Tesla stay low, Bitcoin jump. But you just never know, man. It could be different. And I mean, I bought Tesla. I bought 140K last Friday for a reason, because it could go the opposite. Maybe the earnings are great because of all these multipliers that they can pull. And maybe earnings look good and people really like their forward guidance. You just don't know. Q4 is historically really strong, so if they're going to give forward guidance, I think it's going to look stronger. So I don't know, man. It's either way. I'm ready to flip either way, and I will update my portfolio. I will have that done by tomorrow morning. Albert, I wonder when humanoid robots will be weaponized. Let's be real. They already are. I mean, they're drones though. Drones are the easiest form of it right now. But yeah, you'll have like people-based ones too. Looks like Vlad's talking. I don't know if he's saying anything interesting. CEO on investor optimism. I'm kind of interested on that topic. Let's see real quick here. One sec, guys. I want to hear what he has to say about investors. And then I'll get back to chat. And if you guys have stocks, throw them out. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to let this play for a sec. And then we'll go through the rest of the chat. And we might get done here in a little bit.
Welcome back to Fast Money. Robinhood announcing a new desktop-based trading platform today with the aim of attracting wealthier, more active investors. The platform, called Robinhood Legend, will offer advanced charting and analysis tools. CEO Vlad Tenev joining CNBC from the Hood Summit in Miami this morning to talk growth at the company and investor optimism.
We're seeing broad-based optimism right now across multiple asset classes. I don't think it's just crypto. And markets shift up and down. The scenario can change very, very quickly. But right now, when we talk to our traders, many of whom are at this event, they're expressing a lot of optimism.
So as you might have noticed, Dan and Guy are in Miami. They are at this Robinhood event. So Guy, I don't know if you're talking to people there, if they also have that same optimism in terms of this offering. It's very interesting because this really, signifies and underscores.
I wonder if Tanner and Roy have met these guys.
How Robinhood is maturing its business.
100%. Couple things. I mean, I used to say the most interesting thing about the Robinhood was the name and the hair, but that's changed, and we've talked about it for the last couple of years. They've clearly tapped into something, and I will say, much to my chagrin, people come up to me, I'm all excited, and they're like, do you know Melissa Lee? And of course I say, of course I do. But I will tell you, Robinhood might look expensive on valuation, but the energy at this conference and some of the tools they've built, they're going to continue to grow. And the Robinhood card, they're going to tap into a lot of things that actually make an expensive stock look relatively inexpensive. So I'm absolutely will tell you to stay with this name, Melissa Lee.
By the way, if you meet Guy and Guy says he does know me, he will tell you that I am the meanest person on the planet, which is obviously not true. So don't believe him on that front. He does do that. He does do that often, all the time, actually. Dan, in terms of Robinhood, the stock, it seems like they're going on.
Yeah, I don't care. These people are so fucking stupid. All right. Somebody asked for IRA, and I'm finally getting caught up in chat. I was using that opportunity to get there, and it doesn't seem like they're providing anything really too interesting. And I do agree that with Vlad that consumer optimism is pretty good. Iron down 4.28%. It looks like it's trying to find support. Let's move to the daily. It's probably easier to see, not in this view. All right. So there is some good stuff here. So I want to show kind of maybe I will go back to the weekly. So if we look at volumes here, here's what I like. Look at the peak we have here, and look how much volume we have underneath of us. We got the first fib. I think we're getting ready to launch on Iron. And again, you can kind of see all the different areas you can stop at. I think that it would be pretty easy for this thing to go up to $17 between now and the end of the year. If we see 92K on Bitcoin. Why? Because it was already up to 16 over here. So this is the easy mark. But I think it could actually overshoot that, and it could go to $22 between now and the end of the year. So I think you can get, I mean, what is that? Let me just adjust these. I think you can get 152% on IRN between now and the end of the year. Don't quote me on it. I mean, you can quote me, but just don't like sue me later. But again, I think the peak of the cycle, I'm looking kind of at 52 right now for IRN. That's kind of my thought process there. And that's just withdrawing again, kind of a shorter time frame here. This low, this high, this low, and then going up. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on IRN right now. All right, let me keep going. You guys are talking about Doge. Justin, Jesse, originally you said you were worried about MSTU not having as much volume as MSTX, but they've been around the same volume each day now. Have they? Has that changed? Let's look. It does have the lower expense ratio, so maybe it's the better option now. Let me do this. I'll look at MSTX first and see what their volume is, and then we can look at that one. All right, so MSTX, what do we have for volume? Am I looking at this right? 3 million. 3 million on MSTX. 2-day average volume for 30 days was 4.42. So let's now take a look at MSTU and see what it's got. So if that's true, if the volume is good on it, then great. Oh, let's go back. Then great. Maybe it's the better option now. 3 million volume today. So the average isn't calculated yet. This isn't that old. But yeah, you're right. It's getting better. And how much has it dropped? Maybe this is the better value right now, guys. How much of a drop have we seen on this? It's probably greater, right? And after hours, it's bouncing. It's up 1%. Still down 27%. What was MSTX down? I mean, there's a 1.75x versus a 2x. So these are a little bit different, right, than each other. But fascinating. So yeah, maybe MSTU. If you're looking to buy a dip, I would say MSTU. It's a couple percent lower right now. It's got a lower expense ratio, and it looks like volumes are picking up because it's got the better product. Kind of makes sense. If you read the book from Safe Hitting a Moose about the Bitcoin standard, you realize that money follows the least path of resistance. So very cool. Thank you for bringing that up, Justin. I appreciate you. Shale, Litecoin doing well? Haven't heard that in a while. I used to mind that. Albert, I think investors will reject CleanSpark stock's dilution plan. This will skyrocket the stock in the short term, but it'll fuck with the company long term. Yeah, I don't know. If it passes, I think it's a good thing for the company. If it doesn't pass, I think they're still going to be able to do amazing stuff. It might cause them to have to sell Bitcoin at some point. It might just slow them down from being number one. Maybe they're stuck in number two. But you are right. I think it would help the stock. I don't know. I hope they get it. But if they don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. Sealess, I wonder if Chris has $500,000 of Doge he wants to unload. Yeah, that's it. Chris, put your Doge away. Mr. Casper, Jesse, can you do some Solana, please? Yeah, sure. Haven't done that one in a while. Having some fun here, so we'll get a few done. I was going to stop earlier, but again, just kind of having a good time. Do I not have a Solana? I got a Solana. I got to have a Solana. How do I not have a Solana? What the hell? Sol. Yeah, okay. Whew, I must have typed wrong. All right. I wonder how much that one, what was that one called? It wasn't HODL. It was the other one that it was just really overvalued. I wonder if it got crushed when Bitcoin started to roll back over again. You know what I mean? I don't know. All right, let's get rid of this. I don't know why that's even there. So Solana, I think it's got a 283% move. Let me see here real quick. Where are we? This is 2024 over here. Is this still 2020? That's from the way back machine. Okay. So I probably need to this is all broken. This is all broken. I don't know how it got broken, but it's broken. So let me fix this here because we need to change all of this. 1 second. Let me do this. Put this over here. Yeah, because I'm not loving that. I don't love broken charts. All right, so let's see here. This low. This is probably the major low recently. And this was at what? January 2024. That seems right. And then over here to this high. Yeah, so I'm glad I cleaned up this chart. It was a little off. Let me zoom in a little bit too, just to make sure that I got it lined up real good. There we go. There we go. And that looks good on the bottom. Okay, I'll lock it in. All right, so Solana, I think it can easily, by the end of this year, get up to 240, if not more. So I think Solana could maybe go to 290 by the end of the year, which would be a decent uptick. That's if we get to 92,000 on Bitcoin or try and run, like really run, because then these will eventually just start to take off. So that is that isn't a super huge run, but it's like 100% in short order. Oh shit, I didn't lock it. Son of a biscuit eater. Sorry. Sucks. All right, there we go. Let me make sure I lock it here. All right, so again, yeah, I think it can do this in short order. So I think you could double your money on Solana between now and the end of the year. I'm hoping that happens. And again, this thing it's a 70 billion cap, so it could go more. If we start pushing up past 92, get over 100 or something before we retract, then maybe you'll see a massive jump here where we go from 300 to 500. It is possible. You can't discount it. I could see that happening. This is just because even though that's 258%, it's like, I shouldn't say, it probably would need to be 120. Bitcoin would need to be 120 to get to this level. But it could get there. And then again, if Bitcoin goes past 150,000, I think that's where you get into crazy numbers where you start looking past $1,000 for Solana. So it'd be a real big number if we get or I should say probably a ceiling of $1,000. Because if Bitcoin can, because again, this is all, and this operates this thesis, guys, here real quick. I better be clear on what I'm saying. This thesis is if this thing is in fact eating Ethereum's lunch, which I think it will. I think Ethereum could maybe outperform for a little bit. Ethereum has a much bigger cap. We've seen this before. If we go over here and do market cap by year, you can see where Solana is over here, and then you can see where Ethereum is, and Ethereum is still quite a bit bigger. So all of these are going to get larger, but I think Solana could maybe even flip Ethereum this cycle, and I know that sounds crazy, but I think it's possible. Jesse, what up, brother? I'm up 150% on HIMS. January 2026 calls. Do you see more upside? Comes from Queso Fresco. Let's look. And I need to refresh myself. Oh, ooh. Eunice talking real quick. I might have to see. Oh, she's just talking about the data that's coming out overnight. Okay, cool. But it's not out yet, I don't think. So let me just double check. At 9 p.m. Yeah. So that's not happening for a while. So I don't care. All right, so HIMS. HIMS looks like it retraced a little bit. We do have divergences pulling this down really hard on the weekly time frame. So again, we've went up this way, right? So I'll just draw it kind of like this. We've been doing this, right? Let me just go back here so I cover the right time frame. We've been doing this. We've been going up like crazy, but what we're seeing is really a divergence down, right? And then on the MACD, you can see that starts right about here. We see a divergence down on the weekly. So we've got a lot of technicals trying to pull us lower. So I think it can go down. I think it can go down. So that's what the technicals are telling me. Now let's look at the fundamentals. This company is not a bad company though. So I don't know. There's just so much. It's like if economic data does really good, if markets start to take off in the next several months, what does it do? I don't know. Then maybe it goes up, right? But the forward PE is 53. That is too high. That is just too high, bro. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it, Queso. If I was you, man, I'd maybe lock in some of those gains, and put them into some other things that haven't run as much as this. Again, this is run really good, guys. If we look at the low over here in May of 2022, we're up 700%. If we just look back to whatever time frame, what is this? Even just November of 2023, so a year, not even a year, you're up almost 300%, and you were up. The ideal time to sell, in my mind, was right over here at $25 when you were up 340%. to me, this thing could grind down and maybe even drop down into the 10s and be fairly valued, unless their growth just keeps slamming and the macro looks good. But I just feel like there's much better plays right now. Margnillion, Trump is doing a town hall with Elon tonight. Interesting. I might have to check that out. Mr. Casper, I don't really like listening to Trump. I think Trump is going to be a good president because he's got great people surrounding him. And I think he understands kind of the general direction he needs to. And I think he's been demonized too much. But I really don't like listening to him as a speaker. I'd rather listen to Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Vivek, Balaji, any other number of just really smart people. I don't like listening to Trump. And I don't like the old version of Trump where he just berated everybody and calls them stupid. He does that a little bit less now. I hope in his second term, if he wins, that he calms that down and just does a great job and acts a little more like Reagan and a little less like Jerry Springer. That's kind of my view on Trump. Mr. Casper, okay, we did that. MicroStrategy target by the end of the year. Good question. I don't really know off the top of my head. Let's look. Gosh, I'm getting interested. If we do get a pop, like let's say PayPal does good next week, or whenever their earnings are. If it does really good, like in a week and a half, if it does really good and other things are still sagging, man, I might take an opportunity to start buying some other stuff. But I mean, the multiple is really good on it. But MicroStrategy by the end of the year. So this thing, I think, could go up 103%. So if you're holding MSTX, you can get a 200% gain on it. So I think it's going to underperform CleanSpark. I think it's going to underperform a number of the miners. But I do think you can get a really good number off of this. Now, you got to remember, this is $35 billion. It sounds weird because Solana is like twice the size of MicroStrategy. And again, maybe there's a leap. Maybe we get up to 540 by the end of the year, which is a 177% move. MicroStrategy can flex. So if we get between like 90 and 120, I would expect 390 to 545. That's kind of my thought. And again, if you have MSTU, you'll benefit from that. And I do like, I don't know if I said this earlier, what are we at right now for the multiplier? I don't think it's too bad. 2.31. This is way better than the 2.76 or 2.78 that we were looking at last week when I was selling. So, and it maybe even went higher afterwards. I don't remember, but it was up in the high range. It's better now. It could go lower. If it got down to 2, I would really like the NAV premium. But we'll see what Bitcoin does for the next several weeks before the election. All right, guys, I think I did pretty good. I did almost 2 hours here, so I'm probably going to quit here. I love you guys. I really appreciate you a lot. And thank you for everything. And again, Benedict, thank you for the 50 memberships, man. You guys are just so kind. I'm going to work hard for you, and I'll try and do better and get more organized all the time, and make the tools better and just get it to where, I'm doing more with less time. But I really appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you bright and early in the morning. And in the meantime here, I guess we'll just go out with, nope, we can't do the morning song. That's going to be too much. We did price up, get it down. All right, let's do this one. We'll go out with this. Peace, guys. Love you. Bye.
Look, I'm back like I'm picking up luggage. Accra be my home and I love it. All our treasures are buried in rubbish, so we keep hustling, looking for nuggets. We got youth on the streets, me mugging. You could say our demeanor was rugged. Some go hate cause it's hard to show love here. Cause our egos are weak and they love fear. So we choose to retreat when the love nears. But we love God, that's the biggest drug here. And these bastards, they're the biggest thugs here. Amen's what I say to the cashier. They should pass me my cash. I don't count, I just feel on the bag. Cause if you know money, Charlie, you go no money, Charlie. You go suffer on the streets with no money, Charlie. This is life in the crowd, just normally, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie, now I have to cool down, cause the voice in my head's just getting too loud. I need to think for a minute, cause the city that I live in is vivid. Only the politicians are committed, the privilege that the only ones admitted. Police exist, but crimes are permitted. These are the facts that the news keeps submitting. These are the tracks that I lay in my written. So I would appreciate if you would take the time and attention to open your mind and listen. This is my vision whenever I close my eyes, that we would unite, kill pride, reach for the skies, the black star, bringing the light to the night.
Survival, survival, survival. Man go easy, man for drop, nigga. Survival, survival.
here, it's safe to say there's a reason to fear. Close your eyes and your vision will clear. Imagine if we would rise and build with our peers. What if your success didn't cause much stress and your love just made you hate much less? Would you trust more or entrust less to the people you claim that you love best? See, we talk too much and we act less. That's why the whole place is in a damn mess. Cause I lie to you, cause you lied to me. I hustle and cheat for a chance to eat. Even the vegetarians get beef with peeps and always about the G's. Money, cash, homes, the things we they chase. God knows, say mono they here. Phone in Tina boys are called Bobosia. On Baba no ever go one bushia. Or tune for Becca say no no here. As some with the mechanicia. See, we all the home, but if we they steal from ourselves, tell me who go survive. We sell all the truth, so now we live with the lies because we need to survive.
Survival, survival, survival. Man for eating, man for chop, nigga. Survival, survival, survival. Man for eating, man for chop, nigga. Survival, survival, survival. Man for eating, man for chop, nigga. Survival, so boys make war red hats. Man for eating, man for chop, nigga.
This is where my heart is. This is where my art lives.
Man for eating, man for chop, nigga.
Yeah. GH. Every day.
Man for eating, man for chop, nigga. Survival, survival, survival.